Professional athletes, they are people just like us, right? Sure, most of them have millions of dollars in the bank, but they wake up, eat, go to work, and experience life's ups and downs all the same, right?
Is that right?
Well, in some cases, pro athletes are just normal humans underneath all of the money and fame, but it is really on a case-to-case basis. It depends on a few factors, like how long they have been famous, how much money they have made, and their makeup as a person. And boy, is it a careful balance. It seems like far too often we see stars who start to feel like they are invincible and they think they can do whatever they want without any real consequences. Let's face it, some pro athletes seem like they might have a little bit of difficulty staying in touch with reality. That's not to say that they are bad people, not by any stretch. By and large, most pro athletes, even the out-of-touch ones, put their platform and wealth to good use and contribute to a number of good causes. But as with any segment of people, there is tremendous variance from person to person. And some of them end up in precarious situations time and time again because they forget that the rules of society apply to them too. This is what seems to have happened with a former NBA player who was number 16 overall pick in the 2007 draft, Nick Swaggy P. Young. Talk about a guy who has made a career out of being in the news for everything but basketball, especially once the former Los Angeles high school basketball star returned to the City of Angels. It seemed like every other week he was in the tabloids for something. He's been out of basketball since December 2018 when the Denver Nuggets cut him, bringing the twilight of his career to a merciful end.
Nick Young here. Shoots the three, turns around to celebrate, and you missed it. Yeah, premature celebration, young man. Still, the Lakers, 82 points from their bench players.
But I guess it shouldn't be an overwhelming shock that he has still managed to remain in the limelight for some not so positive reasons. To understand what went down here, it is important to get some context as to who exactly Swaggy P is. His story starts in California, where Nick Young was a standout basketball player at Cleveland High School, averaging over 27 points and 10 rebounds a game during his senior year, earning all city honors. Young found himself on nearly every top 50 recruiting list imaginable and ended up accepting a scholarship to play hoops for the USC Trojans. At USC, Young's star started to blossom, and he earned all Pac-10 first-team honors twice, and led the 5th seed Trojans to a Sweet 16 in 2007, defeating the Texas Longhorns and National Player of the Year Kevin Durant along the way. After the Trojans tournament run, Young announced to the Los Angeles Times that he was going to forego his senior season in Pasadena to turn pro, and he was subsequently taken number 16 overall by the Washington Wizards. Despite the persona he has since developed, he was hardly in the news as a Wizard. And the only time he found himself on the wrong side of disciplinary matter was for his involvement in the finger gun incident of 2010. A group of Wizards players were huddled around teammate Gilbert Arenas during a pregame huddle and laughing along as he pointed his index fingers as if he were shooting a gun, which, as ridiculous as it sounds, was taken very seriously by the league, as it was investigating the Wizards star for bringing a gun into an NBA locker room at the time. Young, along with 3 other teammates, was fined $10,000 by the team, but no further discipline action was handed out, and it never really became a spectacle like many of his mishaps as a Laker did. His time in Washington was up and down, as his 2 most productive years, which were his final 2 seasons in DC, were marred by injuries. Nevertheless, he established himself as a legit NBA player who was capable of scoring in bunches. That made him a valuable trade chip for the floundering Wizards, even with some astounding blunders on his resume. Anyways, in March 2012, they pulled the trigger and shipped Young out to the Los Angeles Clippers as part of a 3-way deal that also involved the Denver Nuggets. Young, still not fully transitioned into the walking meme that is Swaggy P, was a key contributor for the Clippers down the stretch, helping them earn their first playoff berth in 6 years. He parlayed this performance into a 1-year deal with the 76ers before returning back to LA in 2013, this time to play for the Lakers, which was his favorite team growing up. His first year in the Laker purple and gold was the best of his career on the court, averaging 17.9 points per game, but he did start to slip into the news cycle more and more as Swaggy P began to take hold. Like in March of 2014, when he announced to the world via Twitter that his right arm was strictly for buckets. Or just a couple of months later, when he took to Instagram to reiterate that Swaggy P was a nickname given to him by God himself in a dream.
Like God came in my dreams and talked to me and gave me that name. I'm like, you know what, God, that is a funny name. I might need to run with it. And ever since then, so Swaggy P.
It was shortly after this that he fully transmogrified and Nick Young ceased to exist as we knew him. He still had the silky smooth jumper and was good for scoring a hot shooting streak here and there. But more and more often, he was in the headlines for off-the-court reasons, like dating celebrities like Iggy Azalea, telling Rolling Stone he wanted to make Shazam 2, or modeling for Forever 21. And of course, in 2016, there was the infamous feud with teammate D'Angelo Russell after the Lakers rookie inadvertently exposed Swaggy for cheating on Azalea on Snapchat.
What you like?
Everyone would make fun of me.
You was 30, she was 19?
Those legs for days have now
Hell
walked dozens
no.
of runways, and in just a few years,
Come
Kendall
on.
Jenner has caught the attention.
She lied.
It's unclear exactly at what point Swaggy P took over, but sometime during his return to LA, it happened. And ever since, it has continued to evolve, even since his playing days finished. Most of his antics and incidents have all been in good fun. That is, until recently, when the former NBA player came under fire for a rather shameful display of selfishness and detachment. The incident came in the wake of Kobe Bryant's shocking passing in January of 2020. David Miner, an aspiring entrepreneur and lifelong Kobe fan, released a t-shirt design on Instagram that paid homage to the Mamba and announced that proceeds will be donated to MambaOn3.org, a foundation that was created to honor and support the loved ones of the 7 other victims from the helicopter crash that took Bryant's life. Miner reportedly sent Young a freebie, knowing he too was a huge Kobe fan, and perhaps to get the brand out there. The two made the arrangement via Instagram DMs, and everything seemed good until Miner allegedly realized that Young had blocked him on social media and began to sell his own version of the shirt under his own label, Most Hated. And then, like every good beef does in today's day and age, a procession of tweets and Instagram posts followed. Both parties were vehemently claiming that they were wronged and muddying the waters for the court of public opinion. So let's just take a look at the facts presented here. Obviously, Miner fired off the first shot, claiming that the former NBA player had stolen the design and providing proof that Swaggy P had sent him his address. Then Miner went viral on Twitter, posting the receipts and a picture of Swaggy himself wearing a shirt with the design in question. The internet was confused at first. Some people criticized Miner, doubting his allegations, but quickly, as it often does on the internet, more facts came out and the tide turned. And soon the masses came in droves to drag Swaggy over the coals, especially once it came out that he was not only selling his own version of the shirt, but he also saw to it that Miner's e-commerce website was taken down. As Swaggy P's boat continued to take on water, he decided it was time to take the narrative into his own hands, and he released a statement on Most Hated's company Instagram story saying, "I'm not here for people trying to make money off of Kobe, and if you don't support that, you're a sucker. If you don't have any history with him and just doing things to make money off him, you're a sucker." This was an interesting comment by Young, who had a tumultuous relationship with Bryant during his playing career. He was one of the few players that would ever push the Mamba's buttons publicly, like when he suggested to the media that he was the sensei during his summer workouts with Kobe, saying, "I didn't work out with him, he came to me. I was showing Kobe the ropes this summer, just breaking out plays the way he can score in the offense. I had a sit down with Coach Byron Scott telling him how he should play." Young was laughing while he said this, but anyone who knows anything about the Black Mamba knows that he was as fierce of a competitor as they come, and he probably didn't love a rotational player thinking he could just chirp him at will. Bryant did, however, offer a somewhat playful jab back at Swaggy P, telling reporters he'd choose Iggy Azalea over Young since she's been more successful in her career so far. Considering the fact that Bryant answered this way, and more so that Young wasn't immediately cut or traded, does insinuate that the two had some sort of an amicable relationship here. So maybe Young was sincere in his disdain for what he perceived to be opportunistic behavior from Miner. Honestly, it's impossible to tell, but Young was emphatic, doubling down on his claims and taking to his personal Twitter to announce that he had had quite enough and his methods of discourse were about to change. He was going to take the 50 Cent and No Chill Gil approach in life by dropping the fighting online and taking his grudges to the courtroom. I'm not sure what to make of all this. Either Nick Young knew he was in the wrong and decided to bow out of the public feuding, or perhaps he is just a distressed individual grieving the loss of a childhood hero turned peer in a questionable way. One thing is clear, he definitely could have and should have handled the situation differently. If Young was so turned off by anyone who didn't know Kobe personally, churning out merch in memoriam, then he should have just said that to Miner instead of telling him he dug the look and requesting he send him home. That is where he did himself in if he did have honorable intentions.
But we can't blame you because you have good intentions.
All it would have taken was a simple no thanks, or better yet, just ignore it like I'm sure Swaggy P does to a plethora of DMs and business inquiries. It was really that easy. But if he did that, he would not have stayed true to who Swaggy P is at his core, a lightning rod, an enigma. Everything he's done in his career and in the time since is looked at through a different lens than if any old NBA player had pulled the same stunt. So I think maybe we give old Swaggy a pass on this one. It seems clear that he did have a meaningful relationship with Kobe. I mean, he was his idol growing up. And he played with him for years. It's understandable that he might be shaken up by his passing, and it seems like he's on the right path now, following the sage wisdom of those who came before him, like 50 and Gilbert Arenas. What could possibly go wrong? If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to hit that subscribe button down below. If you like the video, then like the video. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune in to TPS every single day for more cool videos. We'll see you next time.